my name is Chris Jia. I'm the founder and broker record at Dolphin Realty. It's a boutique real estate firm based in Toronto, Ontario. I came to Canada in 2013, went to Brock University to study my business administration. I had a very special experience. I was doing my undergrad, and at one time I went with my MBA roommate to one of his courses, and that's where I met my current wife, Jenny. I'm really grateful that she's been very supportive and inspiring me along this journey, and we just had a newborn baby this year, and it's a very I'm really grateful for her being along with me on this journey. I always have a passion for business, but if we really track the roots of entrepreneurship, I would say for me, my personal experience for entrepreneurship is very passively made, because I was born and raised in a middle-class family. My parents back in the days always told me to save money, not to spend money, and stay away from the luxury goods and services, so that we can stay afloat. And it's very common what you're being told when you're born and raised in a middle-class family. But when I went to universities, I started telling myself I had to pick up some part-time jobs to subsidize my living expenses. I used to be a bartender at a sushi restaurant for a month or two, stumbled upon a coffee shop for sale, almost took it over, but back out of the deal last minute because of its limited upside potential. Me and a few friends, we also started a social media program to produce local news for the Chinese community, which generated quite some following and buzz, but because we still back in the days don't know how to make money and make a sustainable business model, so that project eventually fell through. But that really planted a seed in me, to always discover new ideas and work on initiatives in order to find opportunities and values. And that's how I ended up at BioLink. The former BioLink, now I believe it's called BrockLink. It's a student incubator program. I ended up there working with my mentor. His name is Dan Lynch. He taught me and mentored me, on my multiple ideas. Although I didn't make any of them, but I ended up doing my co-op terms. Actually did 2 co-op terms at the incubator, and I supported, and worked with other student entrepreneurs on their ideas, put together programs, workshops for them to learn about different aspects of starting a business, be it accounting, legal, marketing, and process operation, different aspects. So that helps me better understand how to start a business as well. So after my co-op terms with BioLink, I was thanks to the tremendous support that I got from my friend Nina. She's a realtor. She's still a realtor today, and she helped me start a business which is doing 3D home tours for real estate agents for their marketing. So we did about $50,000 in revenue in the first year of operation, but because still it's a business that's very hard to scale up, so eventually I transitioned from that business into my real estate career, which I ended up joining Bay Street Group back in 2017, and officially started my real estate career there. For me, it almost came natural, because I started actually as the executive assistant to the founder of Bay Street Group, Vicky Huang. She's a great mentor to me throughout my career. Started as her assistant, doing paperwork, doing listing search, and I gradually moved towards handling most of the marketing work, and that really helps me understand the real estate business. And in 2018, I got my own license. 2019, I got promoted to be the VP of Sales and Marketing for Bay Street Group. So at that time, I almost coordinated the marketing and sales aspects, and plus building a team, to really support the core operation of the company. And after that, I just started, working and, sharpening my skills and understanding of the market, of the business itself in 2022. Actually, in 2021, we had a really great year, and in 2022, we did spin off and started Dolphin Realty. And at this time, we already have a very solid team of a few agents, and everyone knows what they're doing. And me, just as the core of this new company, like I basically supported them, with their operation, their businesses. And in the first year of operation, we actually did 2.5 million worth of revenue, which is, I would attribute most of the success to the market, but still, it came natural because the experience, we had capital, we know what to do and how to work this capital, and we have we already have an existing clientele that are our past trusted clients that we work with. So, but there are still challenges, of course, at different stages of your business. In the very beginning, most of the dirty work had to be taken care of. You had to start like, your website, your social media, your process. Everything has to be done so that you have a foundation, to scale on the business side, right? I think the challenges really come down to lack of connections and leverage. When you're an immigrant, you're a newcomer, you wanted to start your own business here, because if you look at the 4 economic factors of production, you need labor, you need capital, you need land, you need entrepreneurship, and that entrepreneurship comes in last, right? Because if you don't have money, there's not much that you can do. You can't hire labor, you cannot buy land, and if you're thinking about doing some traditional business like products or services, it's very likely that the profits are already being competed away, right? So definitely the challenges are lack of resources, and sometimes it's also lack of understanding about this market, the pinpoints, right? If you wanted to start a business, you gotta solve problems for other people and really create values out of those so that you can get a portion of it. For most of the immigrants, I think if they're if they have the full skill sets and they have the capital resources, if they don't understand the market pinpoints, it's very hard to really roll out a product or service that really creates value. So I think that would be the challenges for immigrant entrepreneurs to start their business if they're not really familiar with the local market here. I think the biggest success factor that I think is to work with the right people. And I'm deeply grateful that I met Vicky, who was my former boss. I've learned a lot from her, both in terms of mindset, how you run the business, and all the experiences are basically coming from, working with the right people, right? You get a great mentor that can, not really teach you on a day-to-day basis, but just by observing, how he or she does things is really enough for you to, gain your experience and really sharpen your skills when you're on the job. So number one, I think, is to have a great mentor in place that can guide you along the journey. And second, I think it comes down to initiative as well, because in any industry, if you are lazy or you're just doing your regular job and not taking that extra mile, it's not enough for you to succeed, right? Because when you really wanted to achieve something, it comes at a cost, right? You have to sacrifice part of your life in order to exchange that extra benefits, from either from your career advancement or from, the profits that you're generating from your business. So I think that second success factor is really that initiative, that motivation, that drives you, because you don't want to feel that, every day I'm exhausted, I work too much, I'm exhausted, I'm happy with myself, and not taking that extra mile. It's just not gonna cut it. So and third, I think timing is also really important too. Doing the right things at the right time with the right people. You get all these, for example, you had the experience, you had the right team in place, you have some financial resources to support your new business. It's definitely gonna help a lot, when it comes to starting a new business. I think the real estate market is definitely challenging at the moment with whatever that's happening right now. With the continuous hike, I'm just taking GTA for example because I'm based in here. We're seeing about 50% volume drop, and we're seeing 7% year-over-year price decrease because of the continuous interest hikes that we have. The current prime rate is at about 6.5%. It's really high because the cost of borrowing is killing a lot of buyers' demand. On the other side, because I also hold a license in Alberta, Calgary, we're actually very active. We have some exclusive access to Calgary real estate projects. The market is really polarized in the current economic setup. If I were to look at Calgary, their volume are actually doing okay, and they're seeing rental prices increase over 30% year over year. And especially with a lot of low-price homes, there's no bargaining room at all. We're seeing year-over-year 7% price increase for Calgary market, while we're seeing 10% drop in the Toronto market. That means because of cost of borrowing are too high, people are moving towards the lower end of the market, and that provides a very strong support on the lower end market. So we're seeing resiliency. Even in Toronto, it's the same, right? If you're an end user and this 700,000, 800,000 is your entry point, right? There's no other choice that you can go over $1 million, but have to settle with 800,000. So we're seeing quite some resiliency in the lower end of the market, while the luxury homes are taking a longer time to sell, and sometimes if they really have to sell, they're selling at a discount. So this is what we're seeing in the current market. And next year, if we're to do some prediction, it's most likely going to continue to be the case, right? The lower end of the market are seeing support, while the higher end of the market are seeing further drops. So this is most likely going to be the case. I remember I had some really difficult days. That's when I was younger, about 16, 17. I was studying at a boarding school in Singapore. Let me provide a little bit context. So the consensus or expectation from the school is that you have to do really well, in your academics. Because I was very social and because I was a very social person, and I was heavily involved in our extracurricular programs. I was hosting events, activities for our cohorts. On a regular basis. That's why I didn't commit too much time to study. Like I can do okay, but it's not up to school standard. Like they always come after me, saying why I'm too involved in activities rather than studies. Another thing is peer pressure. So that's really driving me crazy because everyone just focuses on their studies, and I was like, this is not for me. Like I liked socializing and interacting with people, and I took leadership positions in these extracurricular clubs, and that's where my responsibilities are. Like at one time they even sent me to school counseling, and the counselor basically sold me and communicated all these confidential feedback to the teacher, and then teacher come back after me. So at that time I really had some depression time. I stopped talking with my friends and my families, and it's really tough for a teenager at that age. For now, I think it's it's a very it's an experience, right? Like whenever I see any difficult situations, today, like I see it, it cannot get worse than, the situation that I was back in the days, because, that really, I guess if you're younger, like you're more vulnerable and you're subject to these environmental threats, and you can't provide a solution. You don't have the, you don't have the capabilities and also the resilient mentality to turn it around. But that's why after that I took a gap year and I moved to Canada, and I found things here are more encouraging. It's very open-minded, individualistic, right? You can go after what you love. You don't have to be subject to social, economic expectation. You basically do what you love, and there's no forced expectation on you. If I were to give any advice to the young generation or young entrepreneurs, I would say one thing is really important, is to begin with the end in mind. It's also the core philosophy of business building, because everyone's situation is different. So it's hard to encourage or discourage starting a new business. But from a business building perspective, start with the end in mind is really important, so that you can reverse engineer your numbers and your process, right? You have to understand who your clients are, how you make money, and then work backwards, on your cost to see if it's a really viable business, right? And avoid big investment if you're not really knowing whether this is a sustainable business model, right? You wanted to test with a small investment and be agile, right? If you fail, then you can always start over. So it provides you that flexibility, just to stay in the game for the long run. Because if you spend all your money in the very beginning and it turns out not successful, then it's a big risk, right? For entrepreneurship, at the end of the day, it's a very exciting journey, right? But still, you have to evaluate that risk to reward ratio, whether it's worth it, right? Or whether it's really feasible to make it happen. And this may sound a cliche, but do not be afraid of failure, right? For me, I had worked on probably 6-7 ideas that's not making money, and the next one I made some money to support my living, but it's not a good business model. And after that, just keep trying and trying until you find a spot you can really pull it off, right? So that mentality of not fearing failure is also very important, because if you don't make money, you make experience, right? And experience to some certain extent is also part of your assets, right? That's accumulating over the years and it's helping you with your next journey. And last but not least, I think it's important to be comfortable. Having said that, it's not saying for you to stay within your comfort zone, right? The point is really not to force yourself. If you're not really there to start a new business, don't force yourself. Go to a company to learn some experience. Know what you want to do. Like I said previously, right? You have to begin with the end in mind and reverse engineer your journey. And if you want it to be successful, you probably already have someone that you look up to. Study their journey. And if you want to be in certain industry and be successful, you might as well want to, get a job in that industry and learn and practice and work your way up. And by that time, you probably build your connections and have your resources ready in place. And the most important thing is you could probably already have some past clients that's working with you and who like your style, and it will be the same thing for you in the future, to become a natural next step, right? To spin off, start your own business, with a good foundation to work with. So really not to force yourself into something that you're not ready for, and be comfortable. And because everyone, I think for everyone, like at each stage of your life, there's certain things that you can do, and you just work your way up, know where your ultimate goal is and break it down to each year, and just accomplish your annual goals, and you will eventually be there.